All right, let's just go. We're just gonna get right into it. We watched Raw last night, and first time in a really long time.
We got something to say about it.
And I don't know, man. Like it feels like the roster is good. You know, I like the guys that they're pushing. I like the guys that are in NXT. I like the overall feel of the company. But at the same time, just sitting through Raw, it's very depressing, and it's just not very enjoyable. And a lot of it has to do with Michael Cole and the constant plugging of the WWE Network. I feel like it's always the WWE Network, $9.99. Oh my! It's like I feel like it's that it's like constant, and it really hurts the show. There's too much plugging of that stuff.
Right. Well,
but overall, what were you? You had a tough. You didn't really enjoy. You didn't even want to stay up for the main event, which was pretty good with Seth Rollins.
Right.
And Cena. It was okay.
Right.
But
no. I my biggest complaint has always, for a while now, is just the length of the show. It's just too long, and I know that gives them more time in the ring, and that way you get more talent to come in. But to be honest with you, it feels like they're really trying to fill time a lot by showing things over and over again. Showing the beginning of the show over and over again. This is what happened, earlier in the night, when they get to like the 9 o'clock segment or the 10 o'clock segment. This is what happened at the start of the show. And they've always done that. I know that. But in a 3-hour show to watch, this part of a John Cena promo or a Randy Orton RKO over again, it just seems so long and drawn out to me. I agree with you. I've loved the roster. I think the roster is packed. I think there's some great talent out there, not just guys who could be top guys like Dolph Ziggler, Cesaro. He has a lot of potential, Cesaro. Rollins, Reigns when he comes back, Ambrose. I love all these names. I even love Goldust and Stardust. I think Cody Rhodes is funny as hell, and I respect the hell out of him for being willing to be a goofball like that. And I think it takes a lot of guts to go out there and do what he's doing right now. I think there's a lot of really good talent. Even like Mark Henry is he's phenomenal for what he's able to do at his size. So it's not like the talent's not there. It's just the length of the show, and also just the structure and the whole setup of the show is it's long and it's just boring.
It's tough to write a 3-hour show. I think if anyone booked it, they'd have a tough time with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unheard of. I mean, what are some other complaints?
My other complaints is, I feel like the roster is good with Seth Rollins and Ambrose, but I still feel like they're missing a lot, though. I think Bryan and Punk not being on the show hurts. Whenever Lesnar's not on the show, I feel like it's very dry. So I still feel like there's a lot missing. I really do.
Well, that's what happens when Lesnar. That's the biggest problem. Like, the greatest thing about his contract is that it's so exciting when he does show up. But the lamest thing about it is he's not there, and we're supposed to be really excited for when he does come in.
And it looks like he's not even going to show up until Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so it's kind of lame, especially without having the WWE title on there. It's kind of a risky thing that they're pulling right now, keeping the title on.
And I feel like since this has been an issue with Lesnar being the champion and not, no one really having a chance to face Lesnar except Cena.
Right.
It makes the matches just seem less important. Like when I see a Ziggler match, I'm like, yeah, the guy's great, he's busting his ass, but I feel like no matter how much effort he puts in, it's not going to really measure up to anything. He's not going to be rewarded.
And you got
it'd be cool if they made the Intercontinental Championship or the U.S. Championship. If they main evented those titles on pay-per-views, but doesn't seem like that's the case.
They're not. Yeah, they're not really. That's not the route they're going. It's pretty much going to be Cena, and that's fine. I get that. Cena's going to be their main event guy every time. But
and I'm surprised they went with Cena and Lesnar again. Did you want to see Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar? You would think Randy Orton at least deserves one shot.
It might have been a very interesting.
I thought it'd be really interesting. Maybe just one time. Just one time, I would have been fine with that.
See how it works. It would have been It would have been fresh. But I think that who knows? I'm not sure what they're planning for WrestleMania.
Yeah, Cena Lesnar has me worried again. The only way I see Cena losing is if someone screws him. Like someone just comes back. Maybe Punk comes back at the Rumble and screws Cena to set up a WrestleMania match.
Well, that's what I missed. I think one thing about Punk I don't think he's coming back. I have my doubts. I really don't think he's.
They all come back.
He doesn't want to come back. He's different. He's different.
Yeah,
That's a different video.
But when you don't have when the money starts running out, trust me, he's not.
He's not coming back. But let me make this point. Even when Punk and Bryan, and I think the storyline with Bryan,
to lose both of those guys is huge.
That's
a big loss.
You're making me feel like Penny and Hank right now. The thing with Punk, if you go back to last year, because I was watching Raw a lot, Punk was the story writing was for him and Heyman was really bland, and I thought it was really boring. I didn't buy into it for 1 second. And then even with Bryan, it didn't really get that exciting. In the story writing, I mean, until leading up to WrestleMania, because the fans had basically just overwhelmingly supported him multiple times, especially at the Royal Rumble when he didn't even enter it. So then it became really exciting because it felt really real. But there's been a lot of bland story writing, a lot of safe storylines in this PG era, and they're just not really trying to be very creative. I know that we're reading the Chris Jericho book right now. And Jericho talked about his feud with Shawn Michaels back in 2008, and I was like, they need some of that. That was a PG storyline, and they were able to make it feel really real. And it's just if you're gonna have a 3-hour show, you better have like at least 3 or 4 different compelling angles. And to me,
well, they're doing this whole thing with teasing John Cena turning heel again, and I don't think anyone's going to buy into it.
No, I don't think so, unless it culminates with like a giant heel turn at a WrestleMania or something like that.
All right, so Randy Orton's back to being a babyface. He's going to go up against Seth Rollins. Does that intrigue you or not really?
I mean, I think so. I mean, it's okay. It depends on how it goes. It was refreshing to see Randy Orton come out a little different.
Yeah.
Last night I thought it was an exciting segment.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
He totally changed his delivery, which is funny. I think as soon as Orton starts talking slow, like people are gonna start booing right away. So he totally revamped his promo style, which is really cool.
Right.
It was like kind of like a Psycho type of thing. It was kind of shaky at first, but I think the more he does it, the more he'll get comfortable with it.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's interesting. But I don't know. I don't really trust Randy Orton as a babyface. It hasn't worked well in the past, but he was stale as a heel. So you might as well just give it a shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You might as well.
Right,
he needs a big change up. He's really stale.
And what was just disappointing about the Hell in a Cell was I don't know. I didn't see the match. It's got mixed. There's a lot of mixed feelings on the Hell in a Cell match between Ambrose and Rollins. Some people thought it sucked. Some people thought it was amazing. So I really don't know what to believe. But apparently Bray Wyatt came in and it was just a no contest. Or Seth Rollins might have went over, but he attacked Ambrose. What are your thoughts on Bray Wyatt? I'm not a big fan of him. I think I think he kind of sucks. I just don't think he's that great. I just think he's overhyped, and because he could take a piss doing a handstand. I feel like that's one of the reasons why he gets pushed because he has a different look.
Yeah, he does have a different look. He probably reminds him a lot of like Mick Foley's Mankind character. He's kind of got that deranged sense about
But every
him.
time he cuts a promo, I just don't give a fuck. I really have a tough time just buying into what he's saying. And do you feel the same way or?
No, I think he's great on the mic, and I do like his look, and I've actually been a fan of the angles he's been a part of, but now it's starting to feel a little stale now to me because there's such a long gap between WrestleMania and like the Royal Rumble when things start to like really pick up again, leading into their big WrestleMania frenzy. That I think there's just some lag time. I think leading into SummerSlam was kind of exciting, but I don't know, Bray Wyatt, where does he go? The problem with a character like that is, and the problem with Ziggler and the problem with a lot of people right now is everybody, I'm old school, so I look at it like everybody should be heading toward the WWE title because that's the ultimate prize. That means that you're making money for the company and you're really carrying the flag of the company. And it's really hard for a guy like Bray Wyatt, because when you put the title on a guy like that, it changes things. It kind of, you know, he's probably not your poster boy for your company, but he can be a really good heel champion.
Yeah.
You know,
like he has lost a lot of steam.
Yeah.
It would suck if they blame it on Jericho, because I don't think it was Jericho's fault. But the Jericho Wyatt feud, it was something that I don't think a lot of people got excited for. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, just a lot of his just a lot of his matches just come off as very flat to me. I thought the feud with Cena was below average for Cena at WrestleMania. It was just it wasn't Cena worthy.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I guess I could.
I felt like Cena was wasted at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know whose decision if that was. I'm sure, you know, Cena was trying to put over, you know, Bray Wyatt.
And everyone was pissed off about that when you knew Cena and Wyatt were gonna feud leading into WrestleMania. It really took the life out of the card.
Well, I was kind of excited because he wasn't involved in the title match, because I didn't want to see him involved. After 2 years, he was in the main event with The Rock, and then he was in the main event at 27, so I was kind of excited to see something fresh in the main event.
You know, I don't care for him, but at least it is a fresh character. At least they have experimented with it, so I could give them credit for that. But
right.
I don't know. I don't know. I've just had a tough time getting invested in the character.
So what are some possible solutions? What are some possible solutions for them to improve the Monday Night Raw experience? If we're saying that it's stale and it's boring and it's too long, what do you think are some possible things that they could do to improve it? I mean, for one, I'd bring it back to 2 hours. I mean, I don't know what the money situation
is. Well, the good thing about it being 3 hours is you get more exposure, guys get longer matches. There is advantages to having 3 hours. I feel like the connection with the roster has improved over the last couple of years. So there is some good things about it. But as a viewing experience, it's just, I don't know. I don't think watching the WWE 3 hours every Monday night is the best way to go about it. I think you just either tune in for certain segments or just watch certain segments on DVR or watch them on YouTube. I think that's the best way to go about it. Mm-hmm. But no, as far as improving the main events, I think a lot of it just has to do with the championship. You need the championship on the right guy. I think the title is on the right guy. It's just the situation just sucks right now. But it would be cool for Lesnar to put somebody over at WrestleMania, whether it be Seth Rollins, Ziggler, or Daniel Bryan. I think it'd be awesome when that happens. But the problem is we're just not there yet.
Right.
But I think I like Seth Rollins, but I don't know. I just
he's in a strange
situation right now. He really is.
He's trying to be like the Triple H's new Orton or Triple H's new guy, and it's kind of like he's not. I guess he's not doing all the things in the ring. It's kind of like when Shawn Michaels was heel. He didn't always do the amazing things he did when he was a face, although he still had amazing matches. But I think as a face, Rollins will do more.
See, I think Rollins is better as like when he was in the Age of the Fall with Jacobs, when he was like a silent heel, a heel that just kind of did his work in the ring and was an asshole, but didn't talk too much. I think that was the best fit for Rollins. As a face, it was similar to Orton as a face. It just really didn't work.
But see, that's a different, because in indie wrestling, especially Ring of Honor, you could be a heel and still go out there and do amazing things, and the crowd could cheer for you, but then still boo you when you came out for a promo. It's a completely different umbrella.
Yeah.
Whereas WWE, you pull the whole Randy Orton, let me slow things down, in the ring, and let me slow things down on the mic, and sort of, put a lid on things when you're a heel. I'm contradicting myself because I do feel like heels can say more on the mic, but maybe sometimes they do less in the ring. But this character, it's kind of an experiment right now.
It is, and it also, I think, when guys have the money in the bank briefcase, I feel like it holds them back. I really feel like that.
Yeah, I think I agree.
But let me just say this about Seth Rollins. I feel like, it hasn't been great, his whole push, but I feel like he's getting the job done. I feel like there was a lot of interest in Rollins and Ambrose. They main evented Hell in the Cell, so I'll give those guys credit for that.
He's coming into his own, Rollins, I think, and it'll take some time, but I think he has the potential to be amazing.
All right. And as far as the follow-up, when you say what can you fix about it, I think it just has to do with just having the title on the right guy. I really do. Yeah. And I think after WrestleMania you'll get that. I just wish Brock would be more committed but it's just too much of a fantasy at this point. I think Brock is going to give up the title and just, he'll leave again.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Brian was supposed to have a long reign. I'm assuming Brian was supposed to keep it for the 5-month, 6-month, babyface type classic reign. I'm assuming, and then drop it to Lesnar. I think that was the original intent, but he got out. Then Cena got it back, and everyone was like, "All right, Cena's."
Well, that was just to promote SummerSlam.
And then they had Cena and Lesnar, and then now Lesnar has it. So, it's been kind of a whirlwind. It wasn't necessarily Brian. If Brian was still there, things would be a little different.
And I think things are up in the air about who they want Lesnar to face at WrestleMania. Because I think if Daniel Bryan was healthy, it'd be Daniel Bryan. But right now, I think it's, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Cena wins it back. I don't know.
At WrestleMania?
At the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Unless they have something big planned for Cena.
It'll be interesting to see.
Okay, the final part of the video, I always wanted to do a video about Kurt Angle. You said something interesting about Kurt. You said one of the reasons why he's not come back to WWE.
Why he's not coming back to WWE? What did I say?
Or why you don't think he will come back is because he was always missing something in your eyes? Because he wasn't a fan? and
That has nothing to do with why he can't come back, but I think maybe, he didn't grow up, I don't think he grew up watching pro wrestling. I don't think he grew up being a diehard pro wrestling fan like Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan and a lot of these guys. I think he was just so into amateur wrestling. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't think he was huge into pro wrestling. So that, I mean, I think it affected, so he kind of had to learn later on. It wasn't like in his bones, when he first came in. Although he had a lot of talent, he kind of had to sort of get pro wrestling in his bones as the years went on, as opposed to somebody like Michaels, Triple H. You can even argue Randy Orton because he moves so fluidly in the ring. So I think that's something that Angle's always had going against him, but he's always worked hard to make up for that. So do you
want to see him back or not?
I think you can't go wrong by having him back. I just think he needs to be healthy, and B, you just have to sit down with a group of people and figure out how to use him the right way in this era.
But they offered him a full-time contract, and why would you offer him a full-time contract knowing his situation? I think they probably did it because they don't really want him to sign. Maybe they just did it because they felt like they were obligated, because he is a legend.
Right.
But this is terrible. I mean, how the hell does an Olympic gold medalist, and arguably would have surpassed Shawn Michaels as the greatest in-ring performer of all time if he stayed healthy? How does he not? They should welcome him back with open arms. I really think they should. I don't care about a couple of DUI stops. I don't care. You gotta realize that Angle is a world-class competitor, and when you don't have those competitive outlets to get that anger out and that frustration out, and when you can't release that tension, you're gonna turn to alcohol and drugs. Mm-hmm. It's your own responsibility. Well, but when you consider where he was stuck in TNA, I mean, if you were stuck in TNA for 8 years, you probably would have become an alcoholic yourself, right?
Yeah, probably. for different reasons. But no, I think because TNA, I wouldn't want to be in TNA or even watch TNA. If I watched TNA,
I mean, Kurt should have been more responsible, but I feel like they should just, give it one more shot. And I think if they're meticulous with the schedule, Kurt could come back, have a nice little run. Just end his career the right way.
Right. Well,
he shouldn't end his career in TNA.
You have to look at it different ways. From their perspective, he's not Brock Lesnar. He's not going to draw like Brock Lesnar at this point.
I think if you promote Angle the right way, he could.
He could, but he's not going because he's not.
Look what he did with TNA.
Brock Lesnar is a freak, and Angle's not a freak the way Lesnar is. I understand that Angle went to TNA and made a bit of a splash, but he's.
Well, I think that the first Samoa Joe feud was promoted right. They did 60,000 buys. The Joe match at Lockdown did 80,000, which for a small company, I think that's a pretty big success. My point is when Angle makes an impact and you promote him the right way and and the fans get invested in it, it can make money. Yeah. It's just the problem with Angle is his heel turns, his babyface turns. It's short-term impact. Mm-hmm. it's not. He never really had long-term impact. So that
Right.
you're right about that.
Well, we'll look at what just reading the Jericho book. When Jericho came back after his long hiatus, what was it, 3 or 4 years or something like that?
Yeah.
He came back and he did some of the best work of his career. Maybe they should view it that way. Like, now Angle can come back and have that time. Hell, he'd even be a good person to feud with Jericho when Jericho comes back.
I would like to see Angle feud with everybody. I mean, there's so many big names, from Daniel Bryan to Triple H to CM Punk to Seth Rollins. I mean, there's so many, so much talent that Angle's never faced before. And he's old, but when you're a competitor like Angle, you know how to adjust and adapt, because he has the work ethic, he has the competitive drive, and he'll do it. And he'll be rejuvenated now.
The more the more you tell me about it, I think it could be great. But he's probably avoiding the full-time schedule just because of his age and his health. And from WWE's part, all the problems that he has will be exacerbated if he's on the road that often.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand them not offering him a Lesnar type contract. I wouldn't even offer Lesnar a Lesnar.
Well, all right. Okay. Just one more thing. I agree. He's not worth $5 million a year for just a couple pay-per-view appearances. But what's wrong with giving Angle an RVD type of deal or a Jericho type of deal? I mean, I love RVD and Jericho, but let's face it, Kurt Angle, I would put Kurt Angle above those two. And I'm the biggest RVD and Jericho fan. So for me to say that means a lot.
Angle above Jericho?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him above Jericho. I think Angle's had maybe a few matches, a few amazing matches that are better than a lot of the Jericho matches. But Jericho, I picked Jericho because he's more, I felt like he was more consistent.
Match quality-wise?
Yeah, I feel like he had more solid matches than almost anybody.
Angle in his prime blows away Jericho in his prime. I don't think there's any debate about that. That's no disrespect to Jericho, but I'm just saying, I mean, you don't think Angle's worth at least, maybe $1 million for a part-time deal for 1 year? Like give him like a Bill Goldberg type of deal. I feel like...
Lower the volume a little bit. Camera's right there. I hear what you're saying. I just go Bill Goldberg deal. That might not be a bad idea. Have him come in and do the Raws and SmackDowns, see how it works.
Not even the SmackDowns. Maybe just the Raws and maybe every other pay-per-view. I think that'd be fine. Or maybe every pay-per-view.
Maybe we could call Angle and we could be like his agent, and we can we can argue with Triple H and Vince.
Well, as I'm a bigger Kurt Angle fan than you and most people. So for me not to see Angle end his career on the right way, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, getting a DVD with all his greatest matches, and ending his career at WrestleMania like Ric Flair, which is what he wants to do. Right. For him not to even get that chance, that's ridiculous. They should welcome him back with open arms.
Don't wait.
But here's the problem though. Triple H and the shareholders are going to have. It seems like it's up to them, and you're hearing rumors that Triple H doesn't want to deal with Angle because of either the drug problems or maybe some backstage issues they used to have together.
Right.
Angle's called Triple H out for being a political asshole before. He's had problems with Michaels. He called them long-haired sissies.
Everybody's had problems with Triple H, and back in the day, Shawn Michaels was a pain in the ass in multiple ways. Michaels, as much as I admire him, he criticized Hulk Hogan for using politics. Oh, Shawn, you kind of hung around your buddies and made sure you had your spots too, and everybody knows that, and Triple H knows that, and Triple H and Michaels will say we weren't doing anything that the other guys weren't doing. So as far as that's concerned, some of those complaints are legit from Kurt Angle, and everybody. But at the same time, Triple H, like Vince McMahon, if he'll do what's good for business, and if Angle is good for business, I think the real Paul Levesque guy will do it. But that's why you do a drug test. That's why you do an interview. That's why you do a screening, because you have to hang out with this guy and see, does this guy have his shit together? If Angle's still drinking and taking pills left and right, then it's not right. The worst thing he could do is go back into pro wrestling. I agree. I mean, he has aged. He looks like he's aged 30 years since 2002. Right.
I mean, he looks worn out. The business is definitely taking its toll on Kurt Angle. Yeah. All right, so let me just end with this. Forgot what I was going to say.
Well, then it must have not been important. Creme de la creme.
All right, yeah, okay. So Angle still has an ACL injury, so he won't be cleared until January. So it still is a possibility. But just hoping he makes his comeback and maybe appears at the Royal Rumble. That's all we could say.